Hey, g'day and welcome to the February show of iRide. We are really excited to have Vanessa with us. Vanessa's picked up the ball while Kylie's been running off looking after her granddaughter, I believe.
Congratulations, guys.
She's a grandparent, so...
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Your club. But in the meantime, there's motorbikes that need to be ridden and things that need to be talked about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Look, we just want to quickly remind you guys that this show, Vanessa and I are professionals, but certainly not in terms of journalism or motorcycle reporting or TV presenters. The whole crew here are all volunteers. We do it all at our own time and out of our own pocket. So I hope you really appreciate the effort that goes into it. Yes. The show is going to be about 3 wheels. Yes. We had a ride on the Japanese Yamaha Niken, which is two knees,
like itchy knee.
Yep. 1, 2.
Yeah, two front wheels.
2 wheels. So that's the Niken, Japanese.
Yep.
But coincidentally, we're here at the Ginja Ninja.
We are.
So the Ginja Ninja is the little cafe in Canungra that you've probably ridden past 1,000 times and never stopped in.
That's right.
They don't do breakfast just yet, but it's coming.
That's coming.
But if you're in Canungra, any time after kind of about 11 o'clock in the morning, through till the evening, because it's fully licensed, they do Japanese fusion, Asian fusion style meals, and fully licensed. And
well, my husband and I, whenever we're out west riding and coming home, we always sort of wait past that first stop at Bow Desert because we love stopping here at the Ninja Ginja. The guys here, Josh, is just amazing. Their food is just phenomenal. And service is great.
And they're riders, so that's a big thing as well. Now there's some expansion happening as well. They'll probably be doing some breakfast at some stage in the not too distant future. But Ginja Ninja at Canungra, definitely worth calling into, and thanks Josh for allowing us to do the show from there.
Thank you so much, Josh.
So we had some ride on some bikes, didn't we?
We certainly did. The CanAM was just a bit different, to be honest.
Let's go with different.
Yeah. I was expecting it to be different. So for me, adjusting my riding style to sort of suit the stability that's required to enjoy the ride was not so much of a big transition for me, but it was quite different. And I think one of the biggest things, Steve, is it a motorbike?
Look, my thinking is just because you got a helmet on doesn't make you a motorbike rider. We put a picture of the Niken up on, or the Niken. We put a picture of that up on our Facebook page. Fairly controversial. I did something on my Big Bike Adventures YouTube channel. Fairly controversial. The CanAM and the Niken and completely different. They're completely different.
Absolutely.
One's like a motorbike, and the other one's like a quad.
That's right.
Like I said, just because you've got a helmet on doesn't make you a motorbike rider. So I had a ride on, you had a ride on the CanAM, I had a ride on the CanAM. You were kind of not overly disappointed?
It was an interesting experience. I didn't expect it to be like a bike. So for me, I just enjoyed what it was. Would I go and buy one? Probably not.
But you went, and we'll talk about it later in the show, but you went and actually spoke to some guys who are owners, and you spoke to Bill, your friend. Yeah,
Bill, 80 years old, still riding. And what's amazing about his experience and why he and his wife chose the CanAM, mind you, his CanAM was a very different ride from the ones that I'd previously had a chance to ride. Very, very sophisticated. But it's their chance to have time together out in the elements where he gets that kind of feel that he's on a bike because his wife refuses to get on a motorbike.
I get it, absolutely. I mean, the very first time, I think when they first came out, I stopped at there was a coffee shop at Boone. I stopped there. There was a CanAM out the front, and the group of us kind of looking at him going, yeah, that's not a real motorbike. Seriously, come on, who cares? And then this guy came out on crutches. He only had one leg, and we went, well, you know what? Okay. Good on him. That's kind of works.
Exactly.
So there's a place for him. And if you're 80 years old and you want to ride, and that's the only way you can do it without having to put your feet down, then the CanAM's a good option.
I think we've got to allow that for people. I think in this day and age, I think we can't be too judgmental anymore. It doesn't work. And I think we've got to open ourselves to new experiences. Otherwise, how do we grow as people?
CanAM for me was like a quad. I just didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I like The Niken, on the other hand,
Yep.
was so much like a motorbike.
Really?
But the
really
front end grip on that was phenomenal.
Really?
The thing is with the Niken, you've got to put your feet down. It's still got a side stand. You can't stop at the lights and keep your feet on the peg. You've actually got to put your foot down like a proper motorbike. The two wheels move independently. There's an increase in grip on the front that's absolutely phenomenal. I think on poor road surfaces, wet roads, or in some of the colder climates where they put a lot of grit on the surface of the road, I think that's probably going to be a really, really valuable thing. But it was the physics of motorcycling, the tipping in and the centrifugal forces associated with motorcycling were all there as part of that experience. So I was actually quite happy with that. And just want to say a special thanks to the guys at Team Moto at Enogerra, Northside Yamaha. Really appreciate Mark, your help. Thanks very much for putting that all together. They had a CanAM and a Niken, so we were able to do side by side, back to back. So that was pretty amazing. So we've got a bit of footage of that.
Fantastic.
This is the new bike from Yamaha. We talk on the show about whether or not three wheels are a motorbike or not, and this is about as close as you can get to a three-wheel motorbike. It tips in, it leans, it does everything you would expect a motorbike to do, but the added advantage, or the question that people ask, is why? Why would you want to put two wheels on the front of a motorbike? Well, I've got to tell you, after having a very, very brief ride on this, and not even half an hour, the thing that you get from this bike is this incredible sense of, what's the word I'm looking for, is just confidence in the corner. We've just come up Mount Nebo, there's debris on the road, there's an oil spill that's been cleaned up, but there's still a little bit of debris over that, there's rocks on the road and leaflet and all that sort of stuff. And you know what? At no stage did this feel like it was unsettled. If you've been up Mount Nebo, you'll know there's lots of patchworks on the road at different places that can upsettle a two-wheel bike. Didn't have that problem at all with this bike. It was absolutely unbelievable. So this bike is based on the Yamaha MT-09, so it's got all the same electronic suite that you get on that model Yamaha. It's got pretty much the same engine, remapped a little bit. It's got a different flywheel, so a little bit more torque, obviously because of the extra weight and the riding style that this bike is going to present. It's probably a sports tourer, would be the best way to say this. It would be a great sports tourer, really, really comfortable ergonomics. I found the bike fitted me perfectly. I was really impressed. And the first thing you notice when you get on this is not how weird it is, but how weird it's not. You still know you're on a motorbike, but you've got two centrifugal forces now, so the steering is just slightly heavier. Tipping into a corner, it's just a little bit heavier than a two-wheeled motorbike would be, but it's not heavy enough that you kind of go, wow, that's really heavy. But what you get as a trade-off for that is this incredible confidence and this incredible front-end stability over almost any surface. I was really, really impressed. I thought it was a great bike to ride. So what do I think about the Niken? Well, my opinion is that we need to embrace new technology. The motorcycle industry has been trying very hard, I suppose, over the last few years to introduce new technology. And I'm not a purist by any stretch of the imagination, but even when the Honda DCT Africa Twin came out, a lot of people going, yeah, I'm an old school, I like to change gears with a clutch. I recently rode one of those DCTs, and I've got to tell you, I was super, super impressed. And at some stage in the future, who knows, there may be one in my stable. And it's the same thinking with this. We kind of look at it and go, why? Why would you do that? But after having ridden one of these, the extra confidence that you get from actually riding with this, the actual mid-corner stability this thing offers is unbelievable. There's a place for this. This would be a great long-range tourer. The riding position is fantastic. The creature comforts are fantastic. Apparently there's one coming out with a touring screen on it, so that's going to be available. There's nothing here that is bad. This is a really, really good bike if you're looking for something that's super stable and it's got obviously that Yamaha reliability, but this is just a great bit of gear. It's new technology, doesn't belong in every bike, but I think it works really well on this. If you're really interested in having a go at one of these, go and see the guys at Team Moto at Enogerra. They're very, very keen to put people on this bike and actually let them have a good, decent test ride. You'll find that once you take this out, by the end of the street, you're kind of realising that it's just a motorbike. It's not a tricycle. This is a really, really nice bike to ride. Very capable, super stable, and a really, really good ride. So get down and see the guys at Team Moto and have a chat to them. I tell you, you'll be surprised. This is a motorbike show. Whoa! Dragging your Harley round the corner. Oh, there's another one. Unbelievable. Hey, g'day, we're a motorbike show. Sitting on the CanAM Spider. CanAM is a brand owned by Bombardier, which is the same brand that owns Sea-Doo. So if it looks like a Sea-Doo, then that's what's going on. If you've ever ridden a quad, you know, a four-wheel farm bike or those fun quads, then you'll know what it's like to ride one of these. The physics of motorbikes don't apply. The physics of motorcycling has no reference here whatsoever. You're turning directly, there's no counter steering, and you know what? There's a real brain shift required when you get off a motorbike onto one of these to actually ride it safely and properly. Now, does that make them bad? Absolutely not. Like you, when these first came out, I shook my head and went, what's the point of those things? And in fact, we were out at a cafe at Boona, a group of us having a ride, and there was one of these parked outside the cafe when we turned up. And we kind of snickering and mocking and carrying on. And then a guy came out, obviously the rider and owner of the bike, and he was on crutches and only had one leg. He was a war veteran and passionate about riding. And the only way at that time that he could do that was on one of these. I've been on rides with guys who've got their wheelchairs on the back of the CanAM. So in terms of giving wheels to people who wouldn't normally be able to ride, I think these things are fantastic. It's the motorcycle experience without having to put your feet down. The key difference between one of these is obviously on the Niken, you have to put your feet down. It's got a side stand and you have to lean it over and get off it. On this, it's upright the whole time, really wide wheelbase at the track at the front. I've seen these things towing camper vans and small trailers and people moto camping and all sorts of stuff. So there's space for them, there's an application for them, for people who don't have the strength anymore to lift a bike off the side stand, or to be able to, you know, have their full functioning body to be able to ride a motorcycle. These things are a great option. But if you're getting off a motorcycle onto one of these, there's a complete mind shift required because it's not a motorbike. Gives that same experience of being out in the elements, but the riding experience is more like riding a farm quad than it is, or a Sea-Doo, than it is actually riding a motorcycle. But that doesn't make it a bad thing. It just means that you've got to be a particular type of buyer to want to get into one of these things.
You look like you really enjoyed the Niken compared to the CanAM.
Yeah, look, as I said, you know, the CanAM for me was a quad. It was riding a quad experience. Yep. The lateral forces on it just wasn't a motorbike experience. Yeah. The Niken, I got to tell you, there's a place for that, I think, in the market in terms of the extra grip that it provides. I was actually really quite impressed with the way that it rode. Not everyone's cup of tea, I get that, yeah. But I've got to tell you, if you have some curiosity about it being of value to you, I think as a sports tourer, it'll be fantastic. I think if you're carrying pillions a lot, yeah. It'll be a fantastic thing. The stability that thing offers is fantastic. But I tell you, go down and see the boys at Team Moto at Enogerra. Yeah. They've got a bike there, and they're really happy for people to take it out and actually go for test drives, because they actually want people to go, you know what? The only way to truly experience this thing is by taking it for a ride. That's right. So get down there to the guys there at Team Moto at Enogerra. It's good. Now, sidecars, one of the things that we found with this is that you just start taking a piece off and unfolding it, and it just becomes like
it's an onion layer, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? It's a Pandora's box.
So many subcultures in the motorcycle world that I had no idea existed. Yeah. And one of the fun things that we got to find out was about sidecar racing and how diverse that is in itself.
And the kids getting started.
I know, yep. I know. I was really fortunate to get to meet Brooke Golding from GF Racing, and her and her husband, like amazing couple, yep. And their story about how they got together is about how they're taking that sport on at the grassroots. They've got two little girls who are racing.
9 and 6, I think.
I know, in Speedway. Yeah. And Brooke swings for Blake, in Speedway, which
Swingers.
that's a bit funny, right?
Yeah, husband and wife swingers in
I
Speedway.
know,
It's not
I
what
know.
you think it is.
No, get your minds out of the dirt. Actually, they are in dirt.
They
right?
are in dirt, yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us today. How did you get into your racing career?
It was in the family. My pa, Rayon, or my granddad, raced from an early age, the age of 17, then sort of got professional after that, and raced for about 33 years. And so once he was racing, obviously he had 3 daughters, got them into it, and I'm one of their daughters, obviously. And they had one of the biggest and best tracks in Victoria. So my mum obviously raced there. Then once they got, older and had children, then, it sort of got passed on to us. And mum was always, was always wanting to get us into the sport. So it sort of carried on from there.
Okay, so what was the first race that you entered into and how old were you?
I think I was about the age of 12 or 13. I went down to my Catcher Junior Motorcycle Club. And on an XR100 down there, I think I had my gum boots on because we didn't have boots at that point, just to have a go. And I sort of fell in love with it and said, I'm never leaving.
You did two-wheel racing for some time.
Yep.
I understand that you made quite a name for yourself in those race meets.
Yeah. So from an early age, I was the only female that sort of rode. And then we had a couple come in after that. So for 10 years, I was raced against the boys. Every time I went to the track, there was never enough women to make a girls' race. So I was always, battling it with the boys, which obviously kept my confidence up, made me push harder and harder because I wanted to be on the podium with them. So two wheels was my thing until I was about 18, 19, and then had a 10-year break, and I've only been back into it for about 18 months now. And last year I just thought, I'm going to give this a good crack and do some title meets, and I did, and came away with a 3rd in Australia, which is good, and 2nd in New South Wales. So yeah, just from 12 months being back, which was awesome.
So Brooke, why sidecar?
Well, it wasn't actually meant to be for me. My husband Brooke Golding decided on our way up to Airlie Beach that he wanted to buy a sidecar. Completely out of the blue. However, Pa did ride sidecars, so it wasn't too unfamiliar to me. We went to Airlie Beach, had our holiday, and when we got back, the first thing was, let's go pick up this sidecar. Now, he had another swinger lined up to do this with him. I wasn't having a bar of it in the beginning. Always thought, I'll probably jump on one day, but, they can do it. That can be their thing, and I'll concentrate on my 2 wheels. However, it was 6 o'clock one morning, club day 1 of at the North Brisbane Junior Motorcycle Club Speedway, and his swinger decided that he couldn't make it. So then I had to step up. And I had to swing for him for the day. And no looking back.
So how did you end up in that title, at the end of those meets? How did you progress?
Yeah, good. Everyone was surprised actually how well I went for the first day. We by all means didn't get last every race. We were up at the pointy end, on our very first race meet. It was just a club day, but that's good enough. We still had some pretty fast riders there, and I feel that I did really well. I was comfortable, and because I hadn't had any previous practice, I suppose me and Blake learnt together. You've got all these sidecar swingers that have swung with other people before, so when you get onto it with a new rider, they just don't feel comfortable. So me and Blake really learnt together, and it was perfect for both of us, because he was only sort of new to the scene as well. So yeah, it was good.
So you're a married couple and
Yeah.
you're a swinger?
Yeah, so swinger, that's obviously the alternate name for passenger on a sidecar. Yeah, that can get confused sometimes, but definitely swinger on the sidecar.
So Brooke, you're obviously a very competent flat track rider. Have you ever considered being on the handlebars on a sidecar racing?
Yes, I have. So a couple of months ago, I jumped on the handlebars. Blake is my passenger. He said a little prayer as we're leaving out. Unfortunately, I got one lap in and we got a flat tyre. So I didn't realise, and I had Blake whacking me on the back, telling me to stop. But I was so keen on, getting these laps in that I sort of kept going until I did sort of feel it get a little bit uneasy. But yes, I will definitely make it my mission to get on the handlebars a little bit more. However, I don't want to take the spotlight away from Blake, because sidecars, you know, being on the handlebars is his thing. Who knows, maybe one day I'll be there beside him with my own sidecar.
So, Brooke, I know you guys do a lot of charity work with some young children, encouraging them into flat track racing.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, not only flat track, we do help them with the speedway as well, where we're on the sidecar. We get them to support those local meets as well. And it's good that you say that. My daughters are 9 and 6, and they've just been sponsored a dirt track sidecar, so they'll be joining us on 3 wheels. They will be racing dirt track though, not speedway. Unfortunately, Charlotte, she is only 6, so she won't be able to be a passenger for Aaliyah just yet. But Aaliyah will be riding, we'll find her a passenger, and she'll give it a go for her first season this year. With the little kids, lots of families around the Gold Coast, Brisbane, like Southeast Queensland, don't actually realise that we do have tracks around the Gold Coast and Brisbane. So we obviously have a lot of following with GF Racing. GF Racing tries to promote the tracks and giving knowledge out there that we do have local tracks in Brisbane and Gold Coast. Holding come and try days, free fun days, so people can come down and try it before forking out a lot of money into buying licenses, memberships, all the gear. We have come and try bikes as well as gear that they can borrow for the day, just to sort of give them a feel for it, to see if it's their thing before they, you know, go out and spend all this sort of money.
So Brooke, thanks so much for spending time with iRide today and hearing your story. It was fantastic.
That's okay. Thank you so much for having me.
I had no idea about half of that stuff that was going on, and you know, amazing situation. So Steve, you got to catch up with Dion Lynn, the king of sidecar racing in Australia.
What an incredible garage he's got. He's got a speedway track in his own backyard, and he was really fascinating, just very, very interesting guy. So yeah. We're actually probably going to do a little bit more on Dion at some stage in the future. But let's go and have a look at that footage and check out this race bike. We're sitting here with Dion Lynn from LCR Racing. Dion, you're best known for your involvement in Speedway, but we came down today to have a look at this road race sidecar that you've got. What can you tell us about it?
I purchased this earlier in the year. It's a 2011 build LCR Louis Christensen Racing frame from Switzerland. That's Louis Christensen Racing. I'm Linden Co-Racing, so both at the pinnacle of our sports. Yeah, it runs a K6 G6 R1000, which is an 06, supposedly the strongest engine for this type of motorbike racing. Punches out about 165 horsepower. The only thing we've done with it at the moment is started it up, but we've got a good crew behind it. You know, my race team, Sam, will probably end up riding it because I've just had a knee replacement and she's a pretty wild seating position in that thing there to get into. Australian Series has run over 3 or 4 rounds at different times of the year. We were going to compete in a couple of the rounds this year with another mate of mine from Sydney, Darren Chalor, who happens to be 10 times Australian champion on the Speedway sidecar. He's got a Windle bike himself with the K6 in it, but according to him and his business partner, Doug Shivers, this is the best bike in the country. So we might even go that way again for next season and throw Darren on it or throw Sam on it. But one way or another, the dirt track cowboys will be out there.
So this is Swiss built, punches out, what do you say, about 160 horsepower?
165, 225 kgs wet, this. Yeah, which is, to look at the size of it, you know, you'd think it'd be more than that. Duncan, that I bought the bike off, he's been clocked at 263 kilometres an hour at Phillip Island on this one.
Wow. So obviously Speedway's your main thing, that's what you're best known for. So do you mind if we come back later in the year and have a look at the track you've got out the back and some of the chairs you've got and some of the gear you got?
Yeah, no, that'd be fine. That'd be really good actually, but we'll make a full day of it. I'll get my whole team here, which consists of 4 of us old legend riders that raced in the 80s and 90s, and now we're in our 50s and we think we're teenagers, reliving life. And my main rider, Sam Harris, and his passenger Luke McGrath from up here. Sam's from South Australia. But yeah, we'll put on a show for you. Might do some dyno testing. We'll do some racing out the back, and if we can have all us old boys and our riders here, we'll just feed off each other and
have a ball.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. And look, thanks for letting us come down and check it all out.
No worries.
So we thought we'd come outside and just show you a little bit about what's happening outside the Ginja Ninja. But Dion, man, how cool is that?
Wow,
that's
amazing.
A pretty special piece of gear, fully imported from Switzerland. Just incredible. That motor, the whole package is just unbelievable. The Speedway track at the back is going to be pretty cool.
Oh, I know. And we've been invited to go back and do a show from there.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you what, you know, that's going to be really special, I think, you know.
Well, you should do a Speedway focus show.
Absolutely.
Yep. I think just all things Speedway, motorcycle Speedway, we're going to get down on that.
Absolutely.
Now, we've got to go back and talk about CanAMs for a little bit because, you know, I just because you wear a helmet doesn't make you a motorbike rider. And you've got a mate, Bill, who's 80.
Yep.
80
years old.
Still ride the CanAM.
Absolutely. The energy of 2 40-year-olds, that guy's amazing. Why don't we go across and have a look at that story right now? Well, good afternoon, Bill. Thank you so much for having iRide at your gorgeous home today. As you know, we're very keen to find out about your story with regards to bikes and eventually now your ownership of 2 bikes that are 3-wheelers. So if we can start from the beginning, how did you get into bikes in the first place?
Being a Kiwi, I was mad keen to buy a motorbike, and I was told very shortly by my parents that no way, no way. And coming home one night in a storm, they found a motorbike splattered all over a wall on the waterfront drive. Took me back there and said, that's why you're not going to have a motorbike. So for years I rode on the back of other people's bikes, for 2 or 3 years. Then I ended up buying a Triumph Trophy, and ultimately bought myself a Jaguar car, and motorbikes went out the window. And I never rode another bike for 50 years. And then I decided to build a 3-wheel car, and I bought a Moto Guzzi here in Brisbane from a wrecker. And after a while I realised I had too many projects on my hands, so I registered the Moto Guzzi and put it on the road, and was met with stout opposition from She Who Must Be Obeyed as to whether she was going to get on the back of the bike. What, you haven't ridden the bike for 50 years? No way. So I then decided to try and outsmart her, and I decided to build a sidecar, which I grafted onto the Moto Guzzi, and that was a huge success. It took us a year to build it, and they're a peculiar animal, very peculiar, but it runs down the highway beautifully. And the reason for getting out of the Moto Guzzi was again because of the lady. In pouring rain, the sidecar is the best bucket you've ever seen. And Rob had sitting there absolutely drenched, totally and utterly. So I decided to look seriously at the CanAMs because I thought it would be an easy transition, because getting Rob into the sidecar was an effort. Yeah. Actually, funny story, I bought her a helmet for Christmas and a leather jacket for her birthday, and she sort of got the message. And so we went to Canberra and bought the CanAM, and rode it home, and that's the best thing I've ever done. It's an excellent cruising bike, and we've had a lot of fun. Got reverse gear, plenty of luggage space. It's got all the tricks on it, and its braking is just excellent. Had a couple of panic stops, and it just stands on its nose. In all the years, and I've been driving in cars and bikes and racing and all the rest of it for 55 years, 60 years, and it would be, without a shadow of a doubt, the most trouble-free bit of fun I've ever had, without a shadow of a doubt. So there's a wrap for CanAM, but it's a seriously good bike.
Okay.
And they're not, everybody thinks, oh, they don't handle. Well, they do handle if you ride them correctly. And the two things is to shift your centre of gravity diagonally over the front wheel, and the second thing is to go in to a corner on a trailing throttle and then muscle it through the corner. If you do those two things, they handle quite well. We wouldn't win the race through the twisting, winding hills, and who wants to on a cruising bike? So.
You're 80 years old. You have the energy of two 40-year-olds.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Tell me, what's your passion for riding these days?
I love being out in the open air. You see so much more on a bike, so much more. That's one thing. The second thing is it's a togetherness with Rob that's very important to me. And last but not least, I don't like living in a cocoon. I like to be right out there in the open, and the bike's got all of that.
So there's a really big sense of being connected to the outside world and, and with your partner on the bike.
Yeah. And there's a comradeship with the bikes. No matter where you go, if I pull up on the side of the road, I'd be very unusual for a bike not to pull up. So you're okay. Now if you pull up on the side of the road of the car, how many cars go past?
So there's a real sense of community amongst all bike riders that you've mentioned.
No doubt about it.
And how have you found your niche with a three-wheel bike? How's the reaction from those bike riders in the community?
Actually, the brother-in-law said to me a while back, of course you haven't got a real bike. And I said, well, the Queensland government says it's a motorbike. And as a purist, and I'm not a purist, as a purist, the two wheels is a true motorbike. But I raced cars for 25 years with motorbike motors in them, and all the motorbike guys used to look down their nose at us. Until we were going quicker than they could. Then they sort of grudgingly showed you a bit of respect, but I mean, that's human nature in any walk of life. So I don't worry about the purist side of it. No. But there are those that just won't deign to speak to you, don't want to know you. What are you doing grinding that grubby thing? That's their thinking.
Well, we're here with Kathy tonight at the CanAM meet in lovely downtown Underwood. Kathy, you ride the Spider yourself, don't you?
Yes, this is my one. I bought it here 3.5 weeks ago.
Wow, that new. Did you have one beforehand?
No, I haven't. But I've ridden quads all half my life and two-wheel motorbikes all my life. But yeah, I just fell in love with them. I was sceptical about them at first until I rode one, and oh my God, I had to have it.
So what was your scepticism around? What was your fear about that?
It wasn't so much a fear, it's just that you see them around and you just wonder how they go like in traffic, and I like cornering, going around them roundabouts, they're scary, and visually parking in parking spots and down the highway, but they're great. I can park this in a motorcycle park. and it fits really good. This is my everyday ride bike now.
Okay.
And I have a brand new car at home and I just don't want to drive it.
Okay.
I'm addicted to these CanAMs, the freewheelers.
And so do you miss the leaning side of things?
Actually, no, because you still have to do a little bit of leaning. Like you actually push the handlebars into the corner.
Okay.
And they are really great. It's actually what I would call an adrenaline rush.
Okay, wow, okay. You adrenaline junkie, you.
Oh, I just love it. And being unwell, and no matter what disease you have or what illness you have, you just got to get on either a three-wheeler or a two-wheeler and just go. It is just the best stress relief out there. But I will have to honestly say, I rode my Harley last weekend to a show, or the weekend before actually, and I said to my husband, you know what? To me, it is actually harder to ride a two-wheeler than one of these.
Okay, well that's an interesting concept.
Actually, because I have to concentrate a lot more. And I've got to watch out behind me, watch out beside me, watch out in front of me. And it's just full on, like, stressful.
Okay.
Where I get on this and I'm so relaxed and I don't have to worry about nothing. And I can actually look around and look at the scenery and I'm seeing more.
Okay.
Where on a two-wheeler, you've really got to concentrate.
Well, team from iRide, I'm here tonight with Greg. Greg, thank you for showing us how you get on that bike. That was amazing. Tell us about how you got into CanAM bikes.
Back in 2010, I bought an RS, and it was only thinking that I can get into it, but I wasn't quite sure, but I still bought the bike. Got in touch with a guy from Canada that was in a wheelchair in Canada, and he gave me what he did to his RS Spider back in the day, and so I copied him to a certain extent. So, and then I adapted that to what I've got now, similar to the way I do it now. He does he? I don't think he uses collapsible chairs. He uses just stiff chairs, like solid chairs. So it's a bit different, but I find it easier. But it was perseverance and putting your brain together and getting other people to try and help you out doing things like that. That's all it is. It's just being adventurous, I suppose. Yeah.
So you rode two wheels before?
Yes, back in 1982 I was riding GS1000G, and I did a lot of rallies back in those days. And I was coming home from work and had an accident on a road detour in Brisbane, and left me. Well, the guys in the cars pulled me out of the creek and then left me with a T8 complete break spine. And you just get on with life. You don't bother, suffering. Yeah. So
this is your way of reconnecting with bike riding in a way that is obviously comfortable for you?
Yes. Yeah, I've always liked bike riding. Maybe the freedom, or I liked the people. They were quite genuine and good people. And I always wanted to get back into them, and I didn't really decide until I seen one of these and decided to do it, and haven't looked back. Although my family was quite upset for a while, but I think they've got over it.
I wonder why.
They didn't have a choice.
Well, thanks again, Greg. Have a great night.
Okay,
thank you.
As we said earlier, this is just a Pandora's box. Yeah. And once you kind of go down into that box, you're looking at things like the Urals, which the adventure riders love, those all-terrain, even three-wheel drive sidecars. I think that's fantastic.
I know.
We've got the motocross guys,
yes.
the two-up jumping.
I know.
That's insane.
Really?
We've got the road racing guys in their sidecars, like that thing that Dion had.
Yeah, like over 200 k's an hour.
Kilometres an hour, some of that just.
Who would do that?
Just crazy. So there's so much stuff in there, and we want to cover all of it, but we just don't have enough time. So But you know, there's things like Mick Jackson, who runs that sidecar event for
the disabled.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he does a lot of work with different agencies around the country where they, you know, he can give disabled and handicapped people the motorcycle experience, which I think is fantastic as well. So it'd be good to have a chat with him at some stage in the future.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff we've got to do, but unfortunately,
not enough time.
Can't do it all in one. Can't do it all in one show. So Vanessa, thanks very much for standing in. You've been great.
Thank you.
Thanks to Josh from the Ginja Ninja. Just incredible. And look, seriously, if you're ever in Canungra, just call in. At the moment, it's just after about 11 o'clock, it's open, and open through to the evening. So if you're coming through on a night road, he'll be open.
Yeah.
He's licensed, the food's great.
The food's fantastic. My favourite spot.
Yeah, right.
Right here.
Yeah. So you might even see Vanessa, you never know.
With a glass of wine too.
So thanks to the Ginja Ninja. Big thanks to the guys at Team Moto, Mark Stanley down there for helping us out with the Niken and the CanAM, and you can keep that one.
They're much below.
Yeah, poor old CanAMs. But listen, thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.